I'm the youth minister here, and tonight I wanted to talk to you a little bit about anger. Um, wow, so much anger going around this country right now. It just seems to me that every time I turn on a television to any news station, it talks about anger and it talks about hatred and it talks about these people want justice in their lives for this, that, these, and those. And people are taking justice in their own hands. I want to go to the Sermon on the Mount in Matthew chapter 5. And I want us to talk a little bit about anger and a little bit about justice. And this is what Jesus said to people on the Sermon on the Mount. And we have a lot of reading to do, so I would like to dive into it. And let's go ahead and get into it. So let's get started. Matthew chapter 5. We're going to start with verse number 21. I'm going to get you a video of this right here. Okay. You have heard that it was said to our ancestors, do not murder, and whoever murders will be subject to judgment. But I tell you, everyone who is angry with his brother or sister will be subject to judgment. Whoever insults his brother or sister will be subject to the court. Whoever says, you fool, will be subject to hellfire. So if you're offering your gift on the altar and there, remember that your brother or sister has something against you, leave your gift there in front of the altar. So let's go back here. You have heard that it says, do not murder. Well, we know this is from Exodus chapter 20. We know this is one of the 10 commandments. Do not murder. A lot of people think it says do not kill. This is the actual correct interpretation. Do not murder. Murder is the direct meaning of trying to kill someone with forethought and purpose. This is not an accident of killing. This is not something like that. This is not in defense of killing. This is actual murder. And whoever murders will be subject to judgment. But I tell you, anyone who is angry with his brother or sister will be subject to judgment. This is not just your brother or sister, by the way. This is anybody. This is anybody that you have hatred towards. We sometimes forget that God's level of virtues and values is so much more above ours that we can't comprehend how perfect He is. This is basically saying what is in your heart shows who you are. How many times have you seen on the news lately people cursing at somebody, people calling someone names, people just using vile, awful language that I talked about last week, well actually this Sunday, that I can't even show my daughter some of the news reports because even on television now, just regular over-the-air television, the language is awful. And it's talking about people. And it's mainly directed at the President of the United States, which in my lifetime, I've never heard anyone talk so hateful about another human being. And the Bible right here is telling you that's absolutely wrong, and it's a sin. So we need to stop doing that. I don't care what your thoughts or values are based upon how you feel about someone, but the Bible tells you if you hate someone or you call someone foolish or you cuss at someone, it says it here, you'll be subject to hellfire. That means you have murder in your heart. And according to God, that's the same sin as actual murder in and of itself. So let's move on to vengeance, and this is actually a pretty neat one. We're going back past adultery, past divorce, and past oath. So this is about vengeance, though. This is the same chapter, Matthew chapter 5, verse 38. But what I'd like to talk about is the evildoers of this world. Again, this is something that I've seen on the news media a lot lately. People tearing down their towns. I saw 8 or 9 people that got arrested in a Portland, Oregon, the riots. And these are people that don't even live there. That's what's so destructive about whoever's doing this to these cities, is these people are coming from other places, coming into other people's towns, destroying them, and then going back home to their own cities. Wow. Matthew chapter 5, verse 38. Let's look at this. You have heard it said, an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth. Or what this is Levitical law, and this was the law given to the Israelites Israelites by God through Moses, and this was how they were supposed to live. Now, this is basically saying an eye for an eye for a tooth. Now, we have to really look at the context of this to understand why this is saying what this is. This was not for a person themselves to get revenge. And we're going to read on and I'll show you why that is. And this is Jesus again talking still on the Sermon on the Mount. Verse 39, but I tell you, don't resist an evildoer. On the contrary, if anyone slaps you on your right cheek, turn the other to him also. As for the one who wants to sue you and take away your shirt, let him have your coat as well. Give to the one who asks you, and don't turn away from the one who wants to borrow from you. You have heard it said, love your neighbor and hate your enemy. This is Leviticus, Deuteronomy, and Luke. And this is the love your neighbor part is, by the way, not hate your enemy. People are misinterpreting one of the verses in Psalms about hating your enemies, and that's not what that meant at all. It didn't mean, it just means to stay away from them. But I tell you, love your enemies. This is Jesus telling us to love the people that want to destroy us, and pray for those who persecute you. Jesus on the cross, after he was brutally beaten, after he had nails pierced through his wrists, after he had his back exposed down to probably his internal organs, and was rubbing up and down on this not smooth piece of wood just to breathe every breath he could breathe, looked up to the heavens and said, Father, forgive them, they know not what they do. Is there any time Jesus protested in the Bible? Is there any time Jesus sought vengeance for something that someone did to him? In the world around us, we see all these people fighting for justice, they say, for someone else. That's not our job. Vengeance is mine, saith the Lord. It is literally God's job to take vengeance on people. And that's exactly what, we'll scroll back up here. An eye for an eye and tooth for a tooth. Verse 39. Verse 38, excuse me. But do you understand what that means? That didn't mean vengeance. This was a set of rules given to the judges and the Israelites that said, you don't need to take anything more away from the person than he took from the other person. So it was basically, you can't allow vengeance and emotions and anger, like we already talked about anger being hate and murder, to you go over the top of what someone did to another person. So if I cuss at you, the worst you should ever do is cuss at me. Or if I cut you off in traffic, the worst thing you should ever do is me cut me off in traffic. Not crash my car, open the door, yank me out, and then shoot me. That's all this was talking about. It wasn't talking about anything other than this is for the judges. This was not written to an individual, by the way. We're not supposed to take vengeance. We're not supposed to protest against the people that persecute us. And we're definitely not supposed to have violent acts towards authority. That is absolutely unbiblical. Peaceful talks, peaceful ways. That's the only way to accomplish things the way Jesus wanted us to. I mean, he's telling us to pray for the people that persecute us. Not scream, yell, cuss, take vengeance on, protest against, burn stuff down, shoot people, rob, loot, everything else that you can think of that's going on in this world around us is the most unbiblical thing you can imagine. With an election coming up, I really want people that call themselves Christian to pay attention to what they are fighting for in this election. Are you going to follow the biblical path? Or are you going to go through the wide gate, the wide road that leads to eternal damnation? I want you to think about that this week. God bless you. God bless America. This is still the greatest country that's ever been founded. the Constitution is still the greatest document that's ever been written, other than the Bible. I don't have enough time to get into everything I wanted to get into tonight because this has been such a crazy week of just destruction in this world. Democratic National Convention was last week. Republican National Convention is this week. I like watching both because I don't vote or judge people by who their party is. I judge people by their actions. That's all I have this week. I love each and every one of you watching this. Even if you don't disagree with me, I will follow Jesus Christ and I will always pray for you. If you have anything else you need to talk to me about, please get in contact with me. Again, I'm Coker Palmer, Youth Minister at Woodlawn Baptist Church. Have an awesome evening and God bless.